Okay, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We are back. We are today continuing with our look at the triennial Torah portion. This week we are going to be looking at Leviticus Chapter 26. Leviticus 26. And we're going to be dealing with if you walk in my statutes. If you walk in my statutes. Okay. I think we're going to go ahead and just get started. We'll just read a little bit at a time. Talk about it. Keep on going. Leviticus 26. We're going to go ahead and pull up Leviticus 26 and we'll read. Let's see. We'll just look at the first 4 verses or so. Here, let me pull it up. Let me get the verses. Leviticus 26. Okay, go ahead and read for us Leviticus 26, 1 through 4.
Do not make idols for yourselves, and do not set up a carved image or a pillar for yourselves, and do not place a stone image in your land to bow down to it. For I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Guard my Sabbaths and reverence my set-apart place. I am Yahweh. If you walk in my laws and guard my commands and shall do them, then I shall give you rain in its season, and the land shall yield its crops, and the trees of the field yield their fruit.
Okay, very good. So we see over here that still the Most High is giving these instructions to Moses to give to the people. And the first thing he starts with here with these collection of verses is to not make idols. When we think about looking at Israel and all of the things that have kind of stood in the way of Israel and our issues with the Most High, idols, idol worship, false worship, adapting to the ways of the peoples that are around us or that mix with us. This is always seemed to have been a problem. It's interesting now, we kind of live in a time where, you don't really think about idols. You don't really think about, things that you would create and bow down to them. probably because people don't, you know, you may not directly have a thing that you take and that you bow down to. Um, However, you know, we still making idols and we're still serving them. Let me see what this word is here. Do not make idols for yourselves. Here, let me just see. Because the way that we kind of interact with things, it really can make things that we have, that we possess, utilize. It could make these things be idols in a way to us. The amount of time that we spend doing this or that, and this or that happens to be something that you spend more time doing than you spending with the Most High. That's an idol. That's an idol. Let me see here. Let me pull this up here. We looked at this here. He says lo el. Interesting. This word here that's translated as idol is this thing that is good for nothing. Okay? Do not make for yourself these things that are good for nothing. Right? By analogy, vain or vanity, idle, no value, thing of naught. Now, if we want to sit up here and say this about it, right? This thing that is a thing of naught. We got all kinds of things that are not, it seems. Don't we? I mean, because we really put the value on the things that we have, the things that we possess, right? Based on how we treat a thing. Looking at these kids, how these kids are with these little plastic toys. Let them sit up there and lose one of these little plastic toys, or break one of these little things that they that they love so much, and they'll have a fit about this thing, right? Because of the value that they place on this this thing or whatever. And so again, we look back in times past, we see that the peoples, I mean, I guess you could call them primitive peoples, right? It's primitive, right? We've made many advancements over the years, but I really think that our idol worship looks different. It looks different. It don't involve you making this thing necessarily, and you bowing down to it. However, you serve things. You spend a lot of time with things, more so than you do with the Most High. He said all that in verse 1, for I am Yahweh, your Elohim. I am your mighty one. I am the one who is the mightiest in your life. We have to be sure that that is true for us, that Yahweh is our Elohim, that he is indeed the mightiest in our lives, right? We see these this command over here with the building of these images that are bowed down to, and I think that we somehow feel that since we're not making a thing and we're not putting it somewhere and literally getting on our knees and giving obeisance and prostrating ourselves before this thing that we create, that we can say that we are not breaking this particular command, but I'm saying that we're able to actually do that, without the physical act of literally bowing down. Let me see what some of these words are here. Carved pillar, yourself, stone, image, to bow down. Let me see what this is here. To bow down. To shaka, to depress, to prostrate. And homage to royalty. Bow self down, crouch, fall down, flat, humbly, obeisance, reverence, stoop. Okay, when we look at this word here, it is giving you the physical. This definitely is the physical act of bowing down. But we have to know that the Most High isn't only forbidding us to physically bow down to things, right? We still have to think about the idea of where our worship lies, where our reverence lies, right? And when we lessen the amount of time that we spend or give towards the Almighty Yah, in lieu of, instead of these other things, we are bowing down to that thing, right? We are paying homage to these things that we are giving more attention to than the Most High, right? He said all what he said, and he's literally talking about physically bowing down to idols and images that are nothing, that you create. It's the physical act of doing the bowing, but we can't not think about the thing that's going on the inside of you that's going to cause you to do that physical act, which is your internal reverence that you're giving to this thing or that thing. The open manifestation of that would be you bowing down, right? But there's a thing that's going there's a thing that's going on in the inside of you that's that will facilitate this bowing down thing. And so again, we're not blatant with our idols, building these things, but we most certainly give our attention to things that we put in the place of an idol every day, right? And when we look at the way that Israel functioned, again dealing with these primitive peoples, you know, they were literally making these things. Now, one thing I was thinking about this idea of setting up any image of stone in your land. The second part, to bow down to it. Okay, I think that's important because just the simple fact of building a stone image, um, is more than what we see over here. I would say it says make you no idols, no graven image, neither rear up a standing image, neither. I don't know. Is this a list or is this all things that got to do with um, bowing down? It says it at the end, right? Don't make an idol, this vain thing, this thing that is nothing, nor graven image, nor rear you up a standing image, neither set up any image of stone in your land to bow down unto it. Right? We talking about separate things, or is this one thing? Because we got all kinds of it in this land. This is not the land that's being referred to, but we got all kinds of stone images in this land.
No, they say neither. I figure that's like an addition too, you know.
I know. So, like for instance, like whenever they put that memorial for Martin Luther King over there in D.C.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a stone image. I mean, you're not worshiping it, but like it's a stone image. Like, did you just make an idol over there?
Yeah. I mean, according to this,
Man,
that's what it say. That's what it say.
I mean, it seems like it's a list, and then at the end they say that don't bow down to it. Where you could look at it where that could be like the caveat for the thing, or just that's kind of an additional thing.
I'm saying all the above, because once you do something like that, you can entice somebody to worship it. If it's there, somebody a generation down and get the idea and start worshiping this thing. So it's like, don't even have none of that
Yeah.
in the first place, you know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's interesting. We kind of live in this land that is, it's really, it's really it's a perverse land that we live in. And, when he's saying over here in your land, he's talking about the land. But from a principle standpoint, as always, from a principle standpoint, when we look at these things, these are not things that we should be seeking to, to have in our, little parts of the land where we are. When we were looking around for, places outside of the city, they had this small building. It was like a medium-sized building, and it was a lot of land. Had a lot of land with it, but this was a Buddhist temple. so they still got the big fat Buddha inside of the thing, and they got all these weird looking things on the outside.
But it was a building and statues.
It was a building, and the statues were still there. Like if you bought this land, but
It came with it.
it came Because it's a
Yeah.
Buddhist temple.
You
Like,
gotta cleanse that land. What he said to do, go to these places and burn the places down. You gotta burn it down.
I mean, it was like the price was like it wasn't terrible. The amount of land, the flatness, kind of the area, all of that was nice. But it's like a Buddhist temple, though. I mean,
We just had to get some burning done. That's all. Hey. Take the torches out.
I
That's
guess because one of the things with Israel, Israel go in. He definitely did tell us when we go into these places to live that you got to tear those things down. But for me, it just seemed like the idea of it just was all right. Like I don't know if like the architecture got to do with that stuff too. Like you know what I mean? Is the building even worth anything when it was created to be this?
right.
Like I don't know. Like I don't even know.
Can't repurpose it. Like,
Yeah.
You just burn it down.
He said, I mean, I
You
guess
know?
that's the only thing you could do, right? But we see over here again, this idea of idolatry always is a concern for the Most High, and it's something that He's always telling us that we need to, stay away from. Probably because it's so easy to slip into it. Okay, so verse 3 over here where he said, I will walk in my laws. If you walk in my laws and guard my commands and do them, he says, I will give you rain in its season, and the land shall yield its crops, and the trees in the field yield their fruit. And so when we think about this again, thinking about this from a physical standpoint, the Most High is saying whenever we're able to do the things that He would have for us to do, we're going to be blessed from a physical standpoint, where we're going to have these physical blessings that are going to come upon us. And again, it has to do with these, these agricultural blessings, right? The crops and the trees and the fruits. But it's interesting that we see this kind of usage of this here rain in its season, because when we think about Israel, the land of Israel, wasn't kind of a rainy, it wasn't really a rainy place, right? And so when we see these things over here, when it talks about rain in its season, you literally did have a, seasons of rain. There was actually 2 of them, right? Mm-hmm. And so they had these 2 wet seasons. One was the former rain, which was kind of the fall time, the autumn time, where they had heavy rain in like November and December. And then they had the latter rain, which was kind of the spring rains. But it's interesting that, again, in that area, the spring rains, like we think about the rain that we receive here in this climate, where springtime, like it rains a lot. Like we see all kinds of rain. But they over there, their spring rains is just this kind of it could be like a week, it could be days of rain that they get and that's their rain season that comes. Like it's really kind of short, and so to get it to have like a distinct rain season in and of itself is a blessing, right? And he's saying, if you walk in my ways and guard my commands to do them, he'll be sure to give you this rain in its due season. Okay? And so it's interesting when we look at this, that again, thinking about this from a physical standpoint, because he's definitely talking about literal rain and literal crops and trees, but we're also able to see this same thought process given in other places where it may indeed be speaking of the physical, but the spiritual is also implied. If we go over to, let's see here. Joel 2. Let's look at verse. I guess we could start at 20. I want to go. Let me see. Let me switch to just so we can look at this. I want to switch to AJV. Start at verse 20.
Okay. It says, "But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things. Fear not, O land, be glad and rejoice, for Yahweh will do great things. Be not afraid, ye beasts of the field, for the pastures of the wilderness do spring, for the tree beareth her fruit, and the fig tree and the vine do yield their strength. Be glad then, ye children of Zion, and rejoice in Yahweh your Elohim, for he hath gathered you the former rain moderately, and he shall cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain, and the latter rain in the first month. And the floors shall be full of wheat, and the fats shall be overflown with wine and oil."
Okay, very good. So, verse 23 over here is very interesting. We see this where it says, "For he hath given you the former rain moderately." Former rain moderately. I wanted to look because when we look over here at the scriptures version, it's interesting the way that the scriptures version translates this. Oh, sorry. Where's my cursor here? The scriptures version says, "He shall give you the teacher of righteousness, and cause the rain to come down for you, the former rain and the latter rain as before." Again, we see King James says, "the former rain moderately." This version says, "teacher of righteousness." How do we even get these things over here? Well, let's look at this because it's not far fetched at all. We see this over here. This word here is actually more, okay, which is archer, teacher, or teaching, also early rain. Right? And so we see over here that word obviously is more, moderately. This word here is tzedakah, which is rightness, justice, morally, virtue, prosperity, justice, moderately, right. Let's just see how it's used. If we go to what's the word study. Righteousness is okay. It's used 157 times. Tzedakah as righteousness. Let's see here. Righteousness, justice, right, righteous, righteousness, moderately, righteously. So one time is used in this way, and this is the verse that we're looking at it. But the majority of the times is righteous or righteousness. But when you think about what's actually going on over here, if we were to think about this in terms of the Most High making himself be shown or known to his people, to speak about it in this way, in terms of the fact that him giving you this teacher of righteousness, and in him doing that, causing the rain to come down, causing the former rains and the latter rains as before. Causing, as it says over here, these threshing floors to be filled with grains and these vats to be overflowed with new wine and oil. All of these things are manifestations of receiving the blessings of the Most High. Right? And so if we was to look at that in this way, the scripture is giving you that, right? Read for us, keep reading down at verse, where'd you start, 24? Read 25 there.
Okay. And I will restore to you the years that the locusts have eaten, and the cankerworm, and the caterpillar, and the palmer worm, my great army, which I sent among you. You shall eat in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of Yahweh Elohim, that have dwelt wondrously with you, and my people shall never be ashamed.
Okay, very good. So again, we're talking about the Most High blessing his people with this overabundant blessing and giving them rain in due season, right? Coming from him. But again, if we look back and think about Leviticus, he said the way that you gonna get this rain in due season is if you walk in my statutes, right? It's the result of your obedience that you receive the rains in their due season. Right? And so the only way that these things are going to happen, this over abundant flowing of blessings that comes as a result of the rain coming down, is because you were obedient to the will and the ways of the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's not going to be any rain if there's no obedience. Right? The rain ain't coming down if you're not going to be obedient to the Most High. Right? One thing facilitates the other thing. You follow the will of the Most High, and then he's going to rain down blessings upon you. right? If you don't, then you won't get no rain.
Yep.
If we look, let's see where this is. If you look here. Let's see where this is over here. So now we see in the end times when it speaks about people coming up to the lands and they don't have, oh, here it goes. Zechariah 14, 16, 17. Let's see here. Read for us 16 and 17.
And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which come against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, Yahweh of hosts, and to keep the feast of tabernacles. And it shall be that whosoever will not come up of all the families of the earth up unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Yahweh of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain.
They not getting no rain. They're not going to be receiving any blessings from the Most High because of the fact that they wasn't operating in obedience. Right? These are just the nations, but the Most High at this point is ruling and reigning. And so it don't matter if you part or if you ain't part. He's the king of everything. And so you could believe or not believe at this point, but you still gonna bring up what you need to bring up, or else you not getting no rain. Which is interesting because we're talking about the weather. We're talking about rain coming out of the sky. Like the way we live right now, scriptures talk about the rain falling on the just and the unjust. Mm-hmm. But then at this time, the rain not falling on the unjust. Mm-hmm. The rain won't fall on the unjust at this time. Mm-hmm. At this time, the rain just falling on the just. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so again, we're able to think about the connection between this and thinking about it from a spiritual perspective, that the Most High's blessings, which are both physical and spiritual, they're facilitated through the obedience of the people, right? As it says back again in Leviticus, if you walk in my statutes, then these are the things that are to come. Okay. Let's go back to Leviticus and start back reading. Let's see. We want to read down towards, let's read 5 through 9.
And your threshing shall last till the time of the grape harvest, and the grape harvest shall last till the time of sowing. And you shall eat your bread until you have enough, and shall dwell in your land safely. And I shall give peace in the land, and you shall lie down, and no one make you afraid. And I shall clear the land of evil beasts, and not let the sword go through your land. And you shall pursue your enemies, and they shall fall by the sword before you. And 5 of you shall pursue 100, and 100 of you shall pursue 10,000, and your enemy shall fall by the sword before you. And I shall turn to you and make you fruitful, and shall increase you, and shall establish my covenant with you.
Okay, very good. So we see over here all of these things that are going on as a result of if you walk in my laws and guard my commands. By the way, when we think about the character of the Most High, and understanding that His laws, statutes, and commands are the manifestation of His character, how can we think about the Most High and think that this over here, as many times as we see this, if you walk in my laws and guard my commands, how can we think of a time when this is not something that is true anymore?
Right. I don't know. Well, the Messiah came and did all away with that. We just gotta believe in Him.
Well, Jesus Christ did. The Messiah did.
Well, that's what that was saying. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
That image, that false image that was created, that's perpetrating a fraud against the true Hebrew Messiah. He came and said that He did away with all of these things. But we know that to be doing that will be something that's contrary to everything that we know about the Most High. Namely, this over here, right? What we're just looking at. If you walk in my laws and guard my commands and do them, He said He's gonna cause the rain. It's gonna rain on you in season, and your land and your crops is gonna be fruitful. Your threshing floor is going. It says your threshing shall last till the time of the grape harvest. In other words, your different harvests, they're gonna overrun. They're gonna run into each other. There's not gonna be no gaps. Like I'm gonna be sitting up here dealing with my wheat harvest all the way up until the time that my grape harvest gives. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna be dealing with my grape harvest. It's gonna be so plentiful that I'm gonna be dealing with it all the way up until the time that it's time to put more seed down in the ground. And you shall eat your bread until you have enough. It's not gonna be wait, how much bread we got left over there? Hold on, just eat like half a piece of bread, because I want to make sure that I won't eat all the bread so that we got enough. You gonna eat until you full, right? Peace in the land. You lie down and you not worried about nothing. You're not worried about no harm, hurt, harm, or danger. Mm-hmm. Because you know that the Most High is there. Not even evil beasts, not even like coyotes coming in and trying to steal, eat your little animals, or like little babies or something. Like, wild bears. And I just seen on the news somebody in Texas, there was like a tiger that was loose or running around in the neighborhood. It said, I shall clear the land of evil beasts, He said, and not let the sword go through your land. Nobody ain't coming through there with their swords and doing nothing to you. because of the fact that if you walk in my laws and guard my commands and do them, when you are walking in obedience to the Most High, He's going to rain on you, and He's going to give you, all of these blessings, peace in the land. You're not going to be worrying about your enemies still never chasing you and all these things. But the prerequisite of all of this is obedience, right? It only take 5 of you. You chase 100 people. 100 people ain't enough for 5 of you when you walking in the truth and righteousness of the Most High. 10,000 of them ain't enough for 100 of you when you walking in righteousness. Enemies is gonna fall when you walking in righteousness. Okay, now we looking at this, and he's talking to Israel as a nation. But from a principle standpoint, these things are true from an individual standpoint. You able to receive all of these blessings that the Most High through Moses is telling the people when you walk in righteousness. Right? We're in a state where the Israel as a nation is doing all types of wickedness and crazy things. But we as individuals are able to walk in righteousness and receive the blessings of the Most High and cause for these things that are upon us to be taken away and moved out of the way when we walk in obedience to the Most High. He said in verse 9, I shall turn to you and make you fruitful. That's what we want. We want in life for the Most High to turn towards us, for His face to shine on us, right? For the Most High to be looking in our direction, right? For the Most High to be involved in our every situation. And the way that becomes true is by walking in His character. Right? When we walk in contrary to the Most High, He's turning away from us. Right? But verse 9, he says, so I will turn toward you and make you fruitful. That's from a perspective of whether you're talking about your physical loins, or whether you're talking about your crops, your dealings, right? Fruitful, from however you could think about fruitful meaning. He said, I'll make you fruitful and shall increase you and shall establish my covenant with you. All the things that you deal with are going to be able to be successful when He is turned towards you. Let's see, we could go down to let's read down to 13, 10 through 13.
So, and you shall eat the old supply and clear out the old because of the new. And I shall set my dwelling place in your midst, and my being shall not reject you. Okay. And I shall walk in your midst, and I shall be your Elohim, and you shall be my people. I am Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mizraim, from being their slaves. And I have broken the bars of your yoke and made you walk upright.
So we see over here, he continues on with all of the things that will be as a result of you walking in righteousness, as a result of you not following after these false idols, as a result of you guarding his Sabbaths, right, and revering his set apart place. He's going to rain on you, give you all of these abundant blessings. He said, verse 11, I shall set my dwelling place in your midst, and my soul, my being, shall not reject you. That's interesting about the Most High, referring to his own nefesh, his own soul, his own being will not reject you. Let me look at this here. My soul, my nefesh, shall not abhor you. Ga'al, detest, reject, fail, loathe, cast away. Right? So we think about on the other side of that, right? Well, we'll talk about the other side. Let's talk about on this side of it, I guess, talking about not rejecting, right? The idea of the Most High not detesting or abhorring or loathing or dealing with you in terms of as a vile thing, right? He's not doing that. He's doing the exact opposite. He's dwelling in the midst of you, right? I shall set my dwelling place in your midst. That's what we experience with the renewed covenant in terms of the Ruach HaKodesh, in terms of the Spirit of the Most High dwelling on the inside of you, making his dwelling place in you. Right? That's the thing that Yeshua talks about. Let's see here. Let's see, John 14:23. John 14:23.
This shit.
Let's go up some. Let's start at 20. At 20.
It says, "In that day you shall know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. And he who possesses my commandments and guards them."
That's the same thing we talking about over in Leviticus 26. It's the same thing, right? He who possesses my commands and guards them. What that say in the King James? He that hath my commands and keeps them. Right? What's the difference? That's the same exact thing as what we just read in Leviticus. What he gonna do?
Let me go up. "And he who loves me shall be loved by my Father, and I shall love him and manifest myself to him." Yehuda, not the one of Korith, said,
That's not Judas Iscariot, right?
that's what okay. Said to him, "Master, what has come about that you are about to manifest yourself to us and not to the world. Yeshua answered him, if anyone loves me, he shall guard my word, and my Father shall love him, and we shall come to him and make our stay with him.
Okay, very good. So he said, we will come to him. The one who loves me and guards my word will come to him and will make our abode with him. We'll make the place where we dwell, we'll make it in him. That's what he just got finished saying over here in Leviticus chapter 26, verse, whatever verse that was we were looking at. 26. 11. He said, I shall set my dwelling place in your midst, and my being shall not reject you. I'll walk in your midst and be your Elohim, and you be my people. All that's after he said way up here, if you walk in my laws and guard my commands and do them. So Yeshua ain't doing nothing but saying the same thing that the Most High said for Moses to say to the people again. Right? But now he's just taking to another level in terms of the Ruach HaKodesh living on the inside. He said, when you do this, when I sit up here and come and dwell with you, my soul will not reject you. And you will walk erect. You will walk upright. Wonder what that is. I'm gonna see what that is. He said you will walk upright. I think it's gonna be. Ooh. Komimiyut. Komimiyut. Erectly. Okay? It's only used this one time, which is kum, or to rise up. Rise up.
Like kumbaya.
Like Kwam Yasharala. I guess it sounds like kum. But they want that to say come by here, right?
Okay.
Right. But for our Lashawan Kadesh people, they say Kwam Yasharala.
Right.
Rise Israel. Rise up. Stand up. Right? He said, I'm gonna make you to walk upright. Or raised up. Right? Erect. You're not gonna be he not talking about slouching down. He talking about walking in righteousness.
Right.
Right? He's using that terminology, but he talking about walking in righteousness after these bars have been broken. Like you ain't got nothing that's holding you down. You walking upright. Okay? After you did this up here, walking in his laws and guarding his commands. Right? These things all go together. All of these blessings, all of these things that he gonna do for you. Dwelling in your midst. Not rejecting you. Being your Elohim. Breaking these things that bind you up. Causing you to walk uprightly. Okay? So we see over here, Leviticus chapter 26 is it got kind of like it got Deuteronomy 28 vibes in terms of it's giving you these blessings that the Most High is going to give to his people, to us, when we walk in righteousness. Right? All of these wonderful things. He's not going to reject us. He's not going to his soul is not going to abhor us. He's going to cause us to walk in rightness. He's going to cause us to have all these physical blessings. He's going to cause us to have spiritual blessings. He's going to be our Elohim. He's going to be our mighty one. He's going to cause us to be able to walk safely in dangerous places. He's going to cause us to be able to be strong and mighty. And it take a whole bunch of people to deal with us when we dealing with the Most High, the way that He wants for us to be, right? But let's look over here at what he go on to say. Let's see how far we going now. Let's just look at 14 and 15 here.
But if you do not obey me and do not do all these commands, and if you reject my laws, or you being loaves, your being loaves my right rulings, so that you do not do all my commands, but break my covenant.
Wait. Read 16 too.
I also do this to you, and I shall appoint sudden alarm over you, wasting disease and inflammation, destroying the eyes and consuming the life. And you shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat.
Okay, so we see over here.
Read that King James.
Okay, hold on. What, the whole three of them?
16.
16. Hold on. Let's see here. What does 16 say? The King and the KJV.
You switched it?
I switched it down
That's
to the
it.
bottom.
Oh, at the bottom. Oh, there you go.
Okay. I also will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and the burning og that shall consume the eyes and cause sorrow of heart, and you shall sow your seed in vain, and your enemies shall eat it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was you?
Oh, no, I was just saying that, the translation on that.
You like that one? Yeah. I mean, when you think about this idea over here, verse 16, I also will do this unto you, appoint over you terror, where terror has just been appointed to you. What does word mean here? Behala, panic, destruction, terror, trouble. Well, we just out here just troubled. Fear of whatever, of everything, because terror has been appointed to you. If terror is just appointed to me, it don't even gotta be this or that I'm afraid of. Terror has just been appointed to me. I exist in a state of panic, destruction, terror,
Unrest.
all of that. And so when you think about, that could be a reason why people out here killing each other. If I don't kill him, everybody's thinking that. If I don't kill him, he gonna kill me.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't do something about this thing that I think is, it could be other stuff where we see, people got these meager offenses that ends up in death. That's one thing that happens. But another thing that could happen is just fear. I don't know what this person's gonna end up doing, so I'm just gonna go ahead and preemptively strike just so you don't do something to me.
The way, our communities living situation is structured, it's all in fear. Most people don't come out at night, because, what had happened, cars driving past, you gotta look and see who it is, who's in it, You're afraid somebody might gun you down in the street, The news is full of terror. Everybody getting the little shot because of being afraid of catching this or that. You know what I mean? Our whole lives is based around fear and terror.
Panic, destruction, trouble. And then now we got these people who sit up there and kind of propagate that for us to even just think about this trouble and destruction and panic. But again, we see that this is something that he said, I will even appoint this thing over you. Right? So a result of disobedience to the Most High is terror being appointed on you. So the scriptures say that he didn't give us a spirit of fear, but he's not talking about
A
righteous person.
Yeah.
He's not talking about you walking in righteousness. He didn't give that person the spirit of fear. But when you not walking in righteousness, he gave it to you right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, this remind me of like I said, he gonna appoint these terrorists, but I heard a discussion. It was on one of these. Storm Minute. They had they was having a discussion on there. It was like, does the Most High do evil or something along those lines? And it's like he don't do. It's like it's your actions that cause evil to come upon you. It's like he don't. You're doing the evil, so that's the result of your actions, you know. And it was like people just couldn't understand that because it's like you just allowing it.
Well, it's chastisement.
Yeah.
So it's like, when you do something wrong, there's consequences for that.
Yeah.
And he tells you what those consequences are.
Yeah, right.
And so if you still do contrary to what he tells you not to do, he already warned you.
Yeah. And so again, we see over here, these things is a result of disobedience. We just got finished looking at all of the wonderful things that follows those that are obedient to the Most High. Those things is wonderful. All of those things that we just looked at. But over here, if you do not obey me and do not do all of these commands, and you reject, all this stuff you gotta do. You don't obey me. You don't do all the commands. You reject my laws. You do the opposite, where before he did not reject you, right? But now you rejecting him. Is that the same word we just looked at? You despise my statutes. That's another word, to spurn, abhor, cast away. He's giving you the same basic meaning, but it's a different word that's used. You rejected my laws. You hated my laws. Right? Your soul loathed my right rulings. You look at the righteous judgments of the Most High and you think that that's something that's let's see what you do with it. You think that that's something to detest and reject. You reject the right rulings of the Most High.
It's interesting because, a lot of things that I'm, seeing come out right around this time period is they're trying to make it seem like the Most High is wicked. The Yah of the Old Testament is evil, merciless, deity who is, they're painting a picture like he's Satan, and like Satan is the good guy. He just wants to help us and enlighten us.
Yeah. That's ridiculousness of these people. But to have that thought process is a manifestation of you loathing his right rulings. If you want to sit up here and say that his right rulings are actually evil, that's this right here. You detest his righteousness. You detest his righteous judgment. That's the result of your wickedness. But you see it already, so that you do not do the commands but break my covenant. He said, I also do this unto you, appoint sudden alarm over you. That's the terror. That's the terror. Wasting disease, inflammation, destroying the eyes, consuming the life. All of these things that end up, causing you to waste away. Before, when we saw the blessings that you was receiving as a result of walking in his righteousness, was things that was having you to be filled up. All these things that you were doing were prospering. You was receiving all of these blessings. Your crops was growing. You were multiplying. All these things. And over here, verse 16 is a complete opposite of that. You sowing in vain. You sowing, but your enemies is eating off you.
That's just eating. You planting and they eating.
And they eating.
Yep.
That's the place that we live in. I sit up here and I look at the money that I make in a week. And then I look at the amount that I get from the money that I make. It's a big difference. It's a lot that comes out and goes to some unknown place. I don't know where it goes. I don't even
What they doing with it?
I don't know what they doing with it. I don't know who got it.
And they take forever to give you your refund back?
All that.
Mm-hmm.
All that. It's 13 weeks for me. It's 13 weeks. That's a long time.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
You still ain't get yours?
No, I did get it after
Okay.
13 weeks. I got it.
Very well.
How many
Probably,
weeks?
But just the fact
I didn't
that
even
the
catch
wait-
count the weeks.
You started counting.
I stopped counting.
I was counting.
Right.
I was counting only because they told me 12.
Okay.
That's the only reason why I was counting, because they said it would be 12. It was 13.
Okay.
I have to file.
Because you contacted them and told.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would've
Like,
told
where
us
was
when
that? Where it's at? Is there something
One
wrong?
time.
Did I do something?
Is it past time?
Massa?
Right.
Did I upset you, Massa?
Right. Where my shekels at? You know?
So they told me when they was going to send it, so therefore I was keeping track. But I'm
Okay.
saying that I'm sitting up here sewing
Right.
and they eating off me.
Mm-hmm.
My enemies is eating off of me.
But let you be late with their money though.
Oh
Oh
my
my
goodness.
goodness, that's the same thing I said.
Oh my goodness.
If I owe
but you be
you,
late.
if I owe you something, you coming knocking at my door.
Oh my goodness.
You know?
Matter of fact, you don't gotta knock at my door. Hello PNC Bank, give me their money.
Yeah.
Something goes out with my name on it from somewhere. Oh, hold on, wait a second. Before you put that into his thing, I'm gonna take mine.
Let me get mine. Yeah.
Let me not give them something that they say I owe them.
Exactly.
There's all kinds of problems.
Right.
But they owe me. They literally owe me. They just give it to me whenever they're ready.
Mm-hmm.
The people crazy.
Nah, we serving them. That's just how it goes.
I mean, that's
It
what it is. We in their land.
Yeah.
This is their land. They make the rules.
We serving
Babylon
them.
make the rules. That's
Yep.
what the song says. They make the rules, and our people suffer.
Feel that.
For real.
That's how the song goes, right? And so, we over here and, wasting disease, inflammation. We got all these things that's going on because of turning away from the will and the ways of the Most High. He's doing all the exact opposite of what he just was saying before. Read 17 right there.
And I shall set my face against you, and you shall be smitten before your enemies, and those who hate you shall rule over you, and you shall flee when no one pursues you.
That's really seems like it's an extension of the other thing. When terror's been appointed to you, it causes you to flee, and nobody's even chasing you.
That's like the cops come around in the hood.
Oh my
God!
goodness.
Just get the breakout. They ain't even doing nothing. They just they flee.
Mm-hmm.
I used to back in that high time of like task force jumping out on people, and just you couldn't just walk down the street without people coming and checking you. You look like somebody we looking for, so now we got it. I've been ran through so many alleys and hit sticker balls and jumping over people's fences from these people out here.
And you ain't even did nothing.
And I ain't did nothing. but it make you feel like you in trouble.
Yeah.
Because you look like somebody who did do something.
Right.
But everybody looks the same.
Yeah. You live in that area. Like they're the hunters. We're the prey. They going.
I mean, I remember times we just got off of the school bus, man. How you looking for me? You know what I'm saying? I just got off the school bus.
Mm-hmm.
But you looking for somebody in dark clothing.
Right. What are the scriptures?
Like that.
You know what that's code word for? We looking for somebody in black skin.
Yeah.
That's the clothing. Your skin is your clothing.
Oh my
Dark.
goodness.
So you're a
Oh
criminal.
my goodness. And so these people that hate you, they rule over you. They could come and just do whatever they want to you.
Yeah.
And by law they able to. Right? Those that hate you rule over you. That's a condition of that's where we at.
Yeah. We live in it.
That's where we live at. Because as a nation, the Most High, he said, I shall set my face against you. Before he was turning his face towards you. But when we talk about the idea of him putting his face against you, now, that's his displeasure is on you. Right? His punishment is on you. Right? From before, we were smiting our enemies. But now, we being smitten before our enemies. It's the complete opposite. Everything that was on in righteousness is off in wickedness.
Flipped.
Everything's flipped upside down.
We used to 10 of us, one of us will send 10 men flying. Now we see a cop beating our brother or sister, and,
Oh my goodness.
and it's 20 of us, and we just watching the cop.
That looks so crazy to me. It looks
I'm
so
like,
crazy.
it's 20 of y'all like, y'all just,
It looks so crazy.
now the cop is got all the power.
And it don't even, he's not even afraid.
Nah.
He don't have no reason to be.
He's like, y'all ain't gonna do nothing. And they don't. They just record it.
It looks crazy to me. It looks crazy.
That's why I'm like, I hope I ain't never in that situation.
When you
'cause
look
I just can't be
look
looking.
at these things that happen and you think about like righteousness.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Righteousness says that person over there. I mean, even if we think about the laws of this land that we live in,
Mm-hmm.
like you guilty. I mean, you innocent. You innocent
Until proven guilty. Yeah.
And so these people, the way they out here treating these people, it's like you judging them. You judging them out in the streets.
Right.
People don't even make it to see a court.
Yep.
And like you said, we just sit up. People just sit there and just watch it happen.
But one of us run up on each other, no problem shooting. Not a problem. In daylight or whatever, on camera, and just
Oh,
walk
yeah.
away.
It's
Then
crazy.
get locked up and be proud instead of. I'm opposite. That's why I hope nothing like that ever happened. Like where I gotta. Nobody do no wickedness like that because I'm not. I just can't be standing for stuff and be like, oh, go give a press report and talk to the news like, yeah, we hope so and so gets justice. Nah, man. But I ain't gonna say no more because I ain't gonna try to.
Yeah, it's an interesting place that we live in, but we can understand why it's like that.
Right. We got an answer now. Cause see, that's me when I was growing up. I'm like, why is it like this? And then you read the book, it's like, oh, okay, cause it don't make no sense. It can make you snap. You'd be like, man, it's so wicked.
Yeah.
But we got the answer now.
Yeah. And then so verse 18 was that?
It says, after all this, if you do not obey me, then I shall punish you 7 times more for your sins.
Okay, so we see over here the Most High is doing these things. Now, if we think about the idea of people looking at the righteousness of the Most High and calling it wicked, and thinking about the right rulings of the Most High and calling it wicked. But then we get down to 17, where 18, where he says, after all this, if you do not obey me, then I'll punish you some more. So that means he did all of those things that he did so that you could turn back.
Yeah.
He wants for us to turn back to him. You're going to have to go through something that's uncomfortable so that you understand where you're supposed to be at. Right? If you do not obey me after I do all of that stuff and you don't obey me, then it's just going to get worse. But the opposite is true. If you do obey me, then it's going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
What do 19 say?
19 says, and I shall break the pride of your power and shall make your heavens like iron and your earth like bronze.
Okay, so when you think about this idea, he says breaking the pride of your power. The thing that causes for us to be in this state of disobedience in the first place is our pride. Right? I'm the captain of this ship. This thing goes because I say it go. I do what I want to do. All right? That's how we get in this state of wickedness. That's how we get to, way up at the top where he started talking about this idea of not following after these idols. Because of the fact that we think that we know more than the Most High know. Right? He set all this up for us for our good. And then we get to the place where, I'm able to figure this out myself. Right? He said, I shall break the pride of your power.
Yeah.
And I'll make your heavens like iron. The heavens is light, and you look up in the sky, and those things look light, and they're like lofty and flowy. He bringing that stuff down, crashing it down. Right? He make your heavens like iron, and your earth like bronze is metal. Like earth is something that's to be tilled and sown and worked. You can't work no bronze.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You can't work no metals. You're not working that. And so And so he's making your life literally hard.
Yeah, I'm about to say everything's hard.
He's making
That's
your
all
life
it's in.
hard,
Yeah,
right? Because of disobedience, right?
that's
If
all
you
it
do not
is.
obey me, he said, I'll punish you 7 times more than what you already received.
Can we say that, when he says that he'll break the pride of your power and she'll make the heavens like iron and the earth like bronze, that seems like it has to do with like farming.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like he's like the pride of their power is their ability to get wealth by, accumulating, goods. And so this seems like he's like, okay, you think you got all these goods and you know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna make that the heavens iron and the earth like bronze.
Yeah, because in the heavens is water,
Right.
right? In the heavens is water, rain, and all these things that come down and nourish and bring nourishment.
Right.
If there's nothing but hard things up there, that's not bringing you no nourishment,
Right.
right? And again, in the earth, if the earth is not able to be tilled and sown into, to the point where things are able to grow and become fruitful, is no good for you.
You ever have to dig a ditch where the earth is just like it's almost like concrete? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I have done that. And it is hard. But again, when we look at this, all of this is a result of disobedience. And when we add 18 to the situation, we see this idea of the Most High wanting for his people to turn back. That he's giving you these things, he's causing these things to be true in your life because of disobedience, and he's bringing chastisement. He's bringing chastisement to us, his people, so that we will turn back to him.
And that's what we understand why it's like hard, because he waiting for us to acknowledge, like you said, acknowledge your offenses, and because it's not going to get better. You think you keep going down the one way. Yeah, man, you gotta turn around.
Yeah.
We think we
You're
could.
gonna turn it around someday.
I know.
We think we can do all these ways to get around not coming back, like not being obedient. We can do, being crafty, coming up with all this stuff. Well, I'm gonna just make more money. I'm gonna just go to school. I'm gonna just do this and that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's gonna it will keep on going like that for his people until they get to the place of that pride being broken. And that's a key component to understanding that we have to get to the place where, our self is taken out of the picture. Our self is taken out of the picture. We're no longer looking at our own selves as being the power, the pride of your power. Right? He's got to break that. But he's got to break that in each and every one of us in order for us to get to that place of following after him. Of saying that it's not me. It's not about me. It's about Messiah in me. It's about what it is that I'm able to receive from the Father. What he's able to make me to be, not me. Right? And until we're able to have the pride of our power be broken, we're stuck. We're stuck over here, waiting for more of these things to be upon us. Okay, keep reading. Verse 20.
Your strength shall be spent in vain, and your land not yield its crops, nor the trees of the land yield their fruit. And if you walk contrary to me and refuse to obey me, I shall bring on you 7 times more plagues according to your sins.
Okay, stop right there. Okay, so now he talking about 7 times on top of 7 times, right? Because you done already took you to a place over here, and then that didn't work. So he bringing more things upon you, and you doing all of this stuff, and it's not working out for you. You sitting up there doing all this work in vain. Your land's not giving no crops. Your trees ain't giving no fruit. But yet and still you are refusing still to. You can turn it off if you want. You are refusing to obey the Most High, because it's all about coming to obedience to the Most High. If you love me, you'll keep my commandments, and I and the Father will come and make our abode in you. That's what he said. That's what he said. And so when we look over here and see that the Most High is the same yesterday, today, and forever, when we see over here in verse 21, if you walk contrary to me and refuse to obey me, then I shall bring on you 7 times more plagues, according to your sins. These things are coming as a result of your disobedience to the Most High. Okay, keep on going.
And send, where am I, 22?
22, yeah.
And send wild beasts among you, which shall bereave you of your children, and I shall cut off your livestock, and make you few in number, and your highways shall be deserted. And if you are not instructed by me by these, but walk contrary to me, then I also shall walk contrary to you, and make and I myself shall strike you 7 times for your sins.
It's interesting that we see that the Most High is even dealing with this wicked, disobedient people. You doing all of these things, and I'm going to sit up here and punish you for doing these things, so that you turn. You don't turn. So the Most High makes the punishment more severe. And you still don't turn. And then the Most High makes the punishment even more severe, so that you would turn. So much so, he said, he sent wild beasts among you, which shall bereave you of your children. Wild beasts gonna come and eat. What does that say? Rob you of your children? Wild beasts among you, which shall rob you of your children. Shakol, miscarry, that is suffer abortion.
What word is this?
Shakol. This
I know. What word?
it says bereave you of your children, shall rob you of your children, destroy your cattle, make you few in number. By analogy, bereave, barren, cast, childless, deprive, destroy, miscarry, rob, spoil. Our beasts among you will do it.
Hey, I mean,
That could be.
ain't the scripture talk about some men as beasts, men as beasts?
Yeah.
Because the scripture talk about men being beasts, especially some of our enemies. That's what they doing.
Yeah. And you know, when we look at this, you know, again, this is a situation where, again, we look at this and see the depravity of the people, but it's all a result of disobedience, and it's getting progressively worse over time. Right? This wasn't bad enough, so I'm going to put 7 times more on you. This wasn't bad enough, so I'm going to put 7 times more on you, according to your sins. You know, this is a lot different than somebody sitting up here talking about some quote unquote evil God, you know, doing bad things to people. Because all of these things are according to your sins. All of these things are based on the fact that the people decided to turn away from the Almighty and turn towards these false gods, and follow after the ways of the people around us, in spite of the fact that the Most High said what He wanted for us to be doing. So it's not even if to say that these people are blindly following after these other places, because the Most High said, I want for things to be like this. And then the people saw what He said, and they saw what the other people was doing, and they said, that looks interesting. I'm going to forget about what the Most High said, and I want to do those things. And so, you know, it's different when you go into a situation knowingly. When you knowingly go into a situation, you kind of get what you deserve.
Yeah.
I mean, you get what you deserve.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the interesting thing about Leviticus 26 is where I think about it in relation to Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28, when we see blessings and curses. In Leviticus 26, there's always this thing of turning back. We have this idea of turning back in Leviticus 26. Right? If you walk contrary to me and refuse to obey, you refuse to come back to the Most High, then I'll make it worse. When we think about Deuteronomy 28, it's, you know, it's to the place where Israel took it to a place where, you know, to get us to where we are right now. Where Deuteronomy 28, when it gets to the place of talking about the curses, it don't talk about the comeback in Deuteronomy 28 like we see over here. It's more severe. There's more of a thing with Deuteronomy 28, the curses in Deuteronomy 28, in relation to Leviticus chapter 26. Leviticus chapter 26, we see the idea of you know, this thing being something that could be looked at as you know, that Israel is able to recover from. It takes supernatural intervention to recover from what we see in Deuteronomy 28.
Yep.
Because he says over and over again that no one, no man can save you.
Yeah.
Over there. Right over here is severe but it seems like there's a turnaround. Where'd you stop? Here, read 23.
Okay. If you are not instructed by me by these, but walk contrary to me, then I also shall walk contrary to you, and I myself shall strike you 7 times for your sins.
Okay, so he said, if you are not instructed by me by these, but walk contrary to me, if you walk contrary to me, I'm going to walk contrary to you. But the opposite could be true then, right? If you don't walk contrary to me, I'm going to walk contrary to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I won't have to strike you 7 times for your sins, because there won't be no sins, because you'll be walking in righteousness. Um, 25.
And I shall bring against you a sword, executing the vengeance of my covenant. And you shall gather together in your cities, and I shall send pestilence among you, and you shall be given into the hand of the enemy. When I have cut off your supply of bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall bring back to you your bread by weight, and you shall eat and not be satisfied.
Mm-hmm. And so we look over here at 25, talking about this idea of the sword executing vengeance of my covenant, being gathered into these cities, and pestilence being among you, and given into the hand of the enemies. These are all things that we are able to look and see in the history of Israel. Like, for instance, when we look at like the Babylonian captivity, all these things happened to Israel at that time, but Israel was able to recover. He came back from Babylon. So we could look at Leviticus 26 as being this not only dealing with kind of reap what you sow kind of blessings and curses, but you can also look at it from a prophetic perspective and see that Israel as a nation took it to a place where it got really bad for Israel because of disobedience, but we was able to come back. We was able to be restored from that. But we've seen all of these things, the pestilence and the enemies and being carried off. And like when you look in verse 26, when I've cut off your supply of bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven. In Israel, each woman had their own their kneading bowls. Like each woman had a place where she baked her own bread. And so the place, when you look at verse 26, it talks about kind of the depravity of the people as to where now 10 women got to sit up here and bake in this one little oven. And then with them all even doing that, it's still not enough to even make it sufficient enough to even be satisfied. And so when we think about Israel being in this state, as opposed to the blessed state, and as opposed to looking over before where you had this overabundance of everything, and over here now we got nothing. And it's easy for us to be able to look and see especially us as a people, to look and see the state that we're in, and even identify with, you know, this fallen people over here. But again, looking at this from a nation perspective, you know, Israel, you know, this is the reality of Israel. But again, when you think about it from an individual perspective, we're able to walk in the Most High's blessings when we walk according to His law, statutes, and commands. Right now, as a nation, you know, we still deal with these things, but we're able to you know, receive the blessings of the Most High as individuals, you know, when we walk in righteousness. Okay, keep on going at verse 27.
And if in spite of this you do not obey me, but walk contrary to me, then I shall walk contrary to you in wrath, and I myself shall punish you 7 times for your sins. And you shall eat the flesh of your sons and eat the flesh of your daughters. And I shall destroy your high places and cut down your sun pillars, and put your carcasses on the carcasses of your idols. My being shall loathe you.
He said, my being will loathe you. Again, before, he said, my being won't loathe you. But now at this place, he's over here. He's talking about piling up bodies on top of idols. From the disobedient ones. He said, you shall eat the flesh of your sons and the flesh of your daughters. Like, we don't eat flesh. We don't eat human flesh. Like, that's not part of what we do. That's not part of what we do, right? But we gonna be so bad. We gonna be so far removed from the Most High that He said, you gonna eat your sons and your daughters.
Oh wow. Well, you know, they say that.
I was about to
say. Go right
so
into
you
it.
say, go ahead.
Well, they say that, you know, from all the abortions what the scripture talked about earlier, you know, our people aborting their babies, they're using those aborted pieces of our children and putting them in food products.
Wow.
Pepsi, McDonald's, it's on record. Yeah.
They had a
All of that. They put it right in the fast food. Yeah.
Yeah, they had an Ashkenaz dude.
Yeah.
He said, we feed you your children.
Exactly. Straight up.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And you gotta think like just little trace amounts. You can't. And they take this stuff to the lab, so you can't taste it. Like meat is meat, you know. And you just put a little bit in. You don't know.
Yeah.
And yes, they admit to it.
Yeah, the scriptures are already
That prove the scriptures.
That's crazy. And when you think about stuff like that,
So don't eat that fast food and stuff.
when you think about stuff like that, it's like, why? Like, why would you even do that? It's just for just a simple fact of wickedness that you would even, like, why would I even do something like that? Like, what practical
The Most High had to
purpose?
make it come true.
What practical purpose do we even have?
Sit down.
I'm saying there ain't nothing beyond that is even like why? Like I can have a burger, and it don't gotta have like fetus parts in it.
Right.
Like it don't gotta have. It could be a delicious, tasty burger without that.
Absolutely.
But these wicked people out here sit up here and come up with these things for no apparent reason.
But you gotta realize though,
they got a
the Most
reason.
High called them beasts.
That too.
And so the beasts, they eat the flesh. I mean, I seen the pictures of of Alaskans, or I don't know, they're these Asian kind of European looking people. They literally got a fresh animal they caught, and they bust it open right on the site, and they're eating it. Their whole face and garments are draped in blood. They got pieces of raw meat hanging out of their mouth. There's pictures of it on the internet. You can see them just like eating and like dipping in blood and like.
You don't even gotta go that far. You got regular white people. There are videos where, like, oh, this is my son's first time hunting. They go kill a deer and just cut it and just, all right, this is your first deer. Cut a piece of meat off of it raw, and you gotta eat it. There's plenty of videos. That's like a custom that I don't even know about.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah,
I seen that. Hearts. They eat the heart of the animal. And all that kind of stuff.
That's a piece. Yeah.
That is the most.
That's crazy.
Oh,
That is crazy.
So
But
they probably love eating them flesh-filled burgers.
Mm-hmm.
Human flesh-filled burgers.
as a result of all of that wickedness, the Most High said that he said, then I shall walk contrary to you in wrath.
He ain't lying.
You know, in generally speaking, you know, the wrath ain't for his people. Wrath ain't for his people. But at this point, the people have put themselves in a position where they not his people.
Right.
And so now the Most High is treating his people that was his people like they not his people because of this obedience. And each time is worse than the last. 7 times over. But he done already, like, I myself shall punish you 7 times for your sins. But he did that before the other times. So it's like multiplying. Every time it's getting progressively more and more on the people. Because the people get progressively more wicked over time.
But what, 7 mean like complete. So it's like it's in Deuteronomy, I'll have these things come up to you till you like destroy, like completely destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now I'm thinking back now that we talked about the eating the flesh of your sons and daughters. And I remember I was in California, and this is when I first started pursuing the Most High. First started reading my scriptures and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And in the spirit, the Ruach said to me, I went and got some McDonald's. And I'm sitting there eating this burger. Mm-hmm. And Ruach was like, don't eat that. Stop eating that. And I was like, and I didn't even, I set that thing down. I never ate McDonald's again. But at that point in time, I thought he was talking about beef. So I stopped eating beef altogether. Right? But I think he was talking about McDonald's.
McDonald's is wicked. I'll tell you that right now.
All that fast food stuff is they get doing. I mean, they do so much stuff with it. It's just it's just crazy, and it don't rot. If it don't rot, there's something wrong with it.
Yeah. Yep.
Like if it don't rot, like
it's not real.
It can't be real.
Right.
Like real stuff rots.
Right.
Like it goes bad. It don't last forever.
The rot is bacteria, so it's live bacteria that's eating it away. Because the Most High put whether it's a scavenger that's supposed to keep the earth clean or bacteria cleans it and breaks it down. If it don't break down, it ain't real.
So
if bacteria don't want it,
right, so I was about to say. So what you're saying is
it ain't real.
Bacteria doesn't even.
Bacteria don't even eat it.
Look at that.
Bacteria knows.
Yeah.
It knows better. We need to know better.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And so we see over here in verse 30 where it talks about this destroying the high places and cutting down the sun pillars, and the people dying as a result of it. Where we done got to this place of being hated by the Most High, where he's got to do this thing all over again. Like he did this already. He proved himself to be higher than the high places of Egypt. Right? He proved himself already. He showed himself to be higher than the false gods of the nations. But we see over here where he has to do this again because of our disobedience. Let's see. Keep on going. Verse 31.
Which says, "And I shall turn your cities into ruins and lay your set apart places waste, and not smell your sweet fragrances." And
So he don't even want no more of the offerings from this one time set apart people. He said, "I smell not your sweet fragrances, like your burnt offerings that used to be a sweet savor in the nostrils of the Most High." He don't want to smell them no more. Keep on. 32.
"And I shall lay the land waste, and your enemies who dwell in it shall be astonished at it. And I shall scatter you among the nations and draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desert, and your cities ruins. And the land enjoy its Sabbath as long as it lies waste, and you are in your enemy's land. Then the land would rest and enjoy its Sabbath."
That's crazy. The land, that's crazy. The land gonna flourish. He said, to you, it's gonna be a desert and ruins. But the land going to be able to enjoy rest, Sabbath, not being worked, as it lays in waste. You are in your enemy's land, so you're gone. The people get taken out. They not there, and the land itself is able to rest and enjoy its Sabbaths, because the people wasn't able to keep. The most I got sit up here and tell these people to do these things because they probably wasn't doing it. They probably wasn't letting the land rest. They probably just was planting all the time, and not allowing for the land to rest. So, among other things, as far as following after these ways of the other nations, they obeying the Most High, not letting the land rest. And so the Most High said, "Okay, well, you want to sit up here and sow into this land all the time, in spite of the fact that I said that you need to let it rest. I'm mad these people coming here and take you out of here." Take you out of here and let the land rest. He that serious about it.
Crazy.
35.
Says, "As long as it lies waste, it rests. For the time it did not rest on your Sabbaths when you dwelt in it. And as for those of you who are left, I shall send fatness into their hearts in the lands of their enemies, and the sound of the shaken leaf shall cause them to flee, and they shall flee as though retreating from a sword, and they shall fall when no one pursues."
I mean, that's harsh right there, ain't it? The sound of a shaken leaf cause you to flee. I mean, these people got no strength,
Yeah, scared of everything.
no heart.
Scared.
I mean, people, it's amazing because when you think about the idea of, fear and faintness in your heart, dealing with many things, the things that, the strongest thing that holds our people back is our people.
Yeah.
and
Own worst
and
enemy.
our inability just to get up and do something.
Something righteous.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because we out here, we
We
doing
doing something.
we doing something.
Exactly.
A lot of stuff.
We
Right.
doing all kinds of things.
So,
But if we was just able just to get up and begin to do things for the Most High, how many things would be getting done out here if people would just not have this faintness in heart? Well, that ain't never gonna work.
Yeah.
I literally remember talking to somebody and they was like, that would never work. We can't get together. Well, I mean, I guess he was kind of right. Because people don't want to just be together and
they don't wanna
do
right.
things
They don't
together.
want to do right. And that's what it all boils down to. It's the right thing to do.
Yes.
Doing the right thing because
But-
of pride. Like I say, going up to the top, pride
Yeah.
is another big thing.
But if we would only just come back to the Most High, and it's like a dependence on you got a dependence on wickedness. This how people out here, they dependent on these drugs and things. You got a codependency on wickedness.
Yeah.
You got to be attached to wickedness in order to strive or survive. But the Most High wants for us to put our trust in Him and what He has for us. And when we do that, He promises that He gonna bless us.
I can see if wickedness led to blessings, but it don't. Like wickedness don't take you to nowhere you want to go.
It leads to things that can't be perceived as blessings.
These are temporary. It's fool's gold.
It is.
It's empty. It's like an empty blessing.
It is.
Like you can get stuff. People getting stuff, but
They
it's
get all kinds
empty.
of- yeah. So-
They ain't being filled. Like you should never happy with what you get after you do that wickedness.
I mean, people
No
with riches.
Comfort, no peace.
People with riches, they don't have no peace.
Yeah.
They're always worried about their riches.
Yeah. Yep.
I know. Killing themselves.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, every single thing that, or seem to be the thing to have, or the thing that people pursue, you can see the holes all in every single one of them.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, keep on going. 37.
It says, and they shall stumble over one another as from before a sword when no one pursues. It says, and you shall be unable to stand before your enemies.
Never going to win.
And you shall perish among the nations, and the land of your enemies shall eat you up. And those of you who are left rot away in their crookedness in your enemy's land, and also in their father's crookedness rot away with them. But if they confess their crookedness and the crookedness of their fathers with their trespass, in which they trespass against me, and they also have walked contrary to me, and that I also have walked contrary to them, and have brought them into the land of their enemies. If their uncircumcised heart is then humble, and they accept the punishment of their crookedness, then I shall remember my covenant with Jacob, and also my covenant with Yitzchak, and also remember my covenant with Abraham, and remember the land. For the land was abandoned by them, and enjoying the Sabbath while lying waste without them, and they were paying for their crookedness because they rejected my right rulings, and because their beings loathed my laws. And yet, for all this, when they are in the land of their enemies, I shall not reject them, nor shall I loathe them, so as to destroy them and break my covenant with them. For I am Yahweh their Elohim. Then I shall remember for their sake the covenant of the ancestors who I brought out of the land of Mitzrayim before the eyes of the nations, to be their Elohim. I am Yahweh. These are the laws and the right rulings of the Torah, which Yahweh made between himself and the children of Israel on the Mount Zion by the hand of Moses.
Okay, very good. So we see over here, he said over here in verse 40, if they confess their crookedness and the crookedness of their fathers. If we are able to turn around away from our iniquities, as well as, he said, and the crookedness of their fathers.
Yeah.
That's interesting because when you think about confessing the crookedness of your fathers, there's an acknowledgement of the connection to the fathers. There's acknowledgement of who you are.
Right.
If they confess their crookedness and the crookedness of their fathers. What does it matter what they, I understand that I'm here because of what they did. But it says that you are here now confessing your own crookedness as well as acknowledging the connection that you have to the crookedness of your fathers and what they did. It's integral, it seems, for there to have a understanding as to what your connection is to the past. Because how else are you going to confess the crookedness of your fathers? You got to acknowledge who those people are. You got to acknowledge who you are in order to confess the crookedness of your father. Who is your father? Who is he that you're able to confess his crookedness?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people that sit up here and talk about the fact that it's a non-issue, in regards to, what your ethnicity or connection to the past is. Leviticus 26 verse 40 deals with you, and it deals with where you came from and coming to some sort of peace with all of that, with you dealing with the things that you've done and dealing with the things that your fathers before you has done. dealing with whatever type of generational curses that have been placed on you, as a result of what your fathers have done, dealing with those things so that you're able to move forward.
And I think that's acknowledging what they did to make sure you don't do it. I mean, at least for me, because I was like, when I first start reading this stuff, I'm like, man. And I look back. That's the first thing I was doing. Like, looking at, I'm just applying to myself. Like, my family ain't doing none of this stuff. Like, and and he'd be like, well, they're doing this stuff or this bad stuff. I'm like, I can't be doing what they doing. Yeah. I'm like, that's the reason. I was like, I'm like, personally, I'm like, it stops with me. I gotta be the one to put that line there,
Yeah, we have to be able to make that distinction between what the things that become our quote unquote family traditions, and things that are connected to righteousness, and understanding that we grew up and learned about all of these different things that that our family does, that we're into, customs and things that we're doing, that when we line these things up with the scriptures is wickedness, and they're things that we have to turn away from. We can't sit up here and make those things that we've learned and that we've done our whole lives be something greater than what the Most High has established and said is to be so. He sat up here and went through this whole chapter over here talking about all that he would do for his people if we would just walk in his ways. But he also went and talked about all that he would do to his people when we don't walk in his ways. And he only wants for us to be able to understand that he loves us and wants for us nothing but the best for us. When we walk in his ways, it's not even just about do it because I said to. Like, when we walk in his ways, we're walking in rightness that's going to cause us to be doing good things for ourselves and everybody that's around us and that who we deal with. Like, when we walk in his righteous judgments, it causes us to be manifestations of the Most High in this earth. And, we're literally just doing good things for ourselves and the people who we deal with when we walk in his ways. And so it's not even like it's like a selfish thing on his part where you just do whatever I say do. When we walk in his ways, we're a walking blessing to ourselves and everybody who we deal with. In this earth. And so when we look over here, just kind of closing out over here, understanding that this life that we live is hard because of kind of the place where we are. But when we understand what it is that the Most High is actually doing for his people, he's working to bring his people back to himself. And we actually have a part to play in that. He works for his people through his people. So when we as the people of the Most High who have turned back to the Most High, when we begin to walk in his ways and in his will again, it's up to us to go and show his people the way back to himself, letting his people, our people, know who they are, so that they're able to confess their crookedness and the crookedness of their fathers, and their trespasses against the Most High. And understanding that because of that, the Most High has been contrary to the people that he considers his people. But he wants for his people to turn back towards him, and to be able to enjoy all of the blessings that he's ready, willing, and able to pour out on us, if we will only just obey his words. And so it's interesting when we look over here at Leviticus chapter 26 that we see where, at least dealing with this chapter, we see where he begins with the blessings. You know, we had the curses in the middle, but then we have at the end the fact that he's saying, you know, it doesn't have to be like this. We don't have to be this dejected people that suffer at every turn. We could be, you know, walking in rightness and walking in blessing if we would just turn to the Most High through his son Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay, so that being said, does anybody have any last thoughts, questions, or comments?
Keep the commandments.
Totem.
Keep the commandments. Hallelujah. If you love me, he said, you'll keep my commandments. And I and the Father, Yeshua and the Father, will come and make their abode in you. Okay? That's what he said. That's red letters. All right? Okay, so that being said, for now, we're going to be done. Y'all willing, we'll be back on next Shabbat with some more. And so, we want to, as always, remind everybody to like the video, share the video, hit the notification button so that you get all of the videos and notifications when we put out new content. And you know, we want to continue to allow for people to be able to you know, hear what it is that we had to say. The only way that can happen is if you keep on sharing these videos, keep on liking them, and keep the message going. Okay? All right, so that being said, we'll say for now, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
And y'all willing, we'll be back on next week.